A long time ago, in a peaceful village surrounded by green fields and tall trees, there lived a wealthy merchant named Rajan. He had a beautiful house, money servants, and everything money could buy. But his most prized possession was a colorful parrot named Mithu. Mithu was no ordinary parrot. His feathers shone like emeralds in the sunlight, and he could speak hundreds of words in many different languages. Visitors came from far and wide just to hear Mithu talk. The parrot would recite poetry, tell jokes, and even give advice to people who asked him questions. Rajan loved showing off his talented parrot. Every evening he would invite guests to his home, and Mithu would entertain everyone with his clever words and beautiful voice. The merchant felt very proud. He would often say, "My parrot is the smartest bird in the whole world." Mithu enjoyed all the attention. He loved how people clapped and praised him. He spoke all day long, never stopping to listen to anyone else. Whenever another person tried to speak, Mithu would interrupt with his own stories and opinions. He thought he knew everything about everything. In the same house, there lived a quiet old servant woman named Kamla. She had worked for Rajan's family for many years. Her hands were wrinkled from hard work, and her hair had turned silver with age. Kamla never spoke much. She simply did her duties with a peaceful smile on her face. Mithu often made fun of Kamla. "Why are you always so quiet, old woman?" He would squawk loudly. "Don't you have anything intelligent to say? I can speak 7 languages. I know poetry and philosophy. What do you know?" Kamla would just smile gently and continue her work. She never argued with the parrot. She never tried to prove herself. She simply listened and stayed calm. One day, a great tragedy struck Rajan's family. His youngest son fell seriously ill with a high fever. Doctors came and went, but the boy's condition only got worse. The entire household was filled with worry and fear. During this difficult time, Mithu continued talking, as usual. He gave long speeches about different medicines he had heard about. He recited poems to try to cheer everyone up. He offered advice about what the family should do, but nobody was listening to him anymore. Everyone was too worried about the sick child. Mithu felt frustrated. "Why isn't anyone paying attention to me?" he thought. "I'm trying to help with my knowledge and words." Meanwhile, Kamla quietly took care of the sick boy. She sat by his bedside day and night. She placed cool cloths on his forehead when he had fever. She held his hand when he cried in pain. She didn't speak much, but her presence brought comfort to the frightened child. She also noticed things that others had missed. She saw that the boy's room was too hot and stuffy. Without saying a word, she opened the windows to let fresh air in. She observed that certain foods made the child feel worse, so she prepared simple, gentle meals that he could digest easily. She listened to his breathing and noticed small changes that helped the doctors adjust their treatment. After many days of careful attention and love, the boy slowly began to recover. When he finally opened his eyes and smiled, the whole family cried tears of joy. Rajan hugged Kamla with gratitude. "Thank you," he said with tears in his eyes. "You saved my son's life." Mithu watched all of this from his golden cage. For the first time, he felt confused. He had spoken so many words, given so much advice, but he had helped no one. Kamla had barely spoken at all, yet she had saved a life. That night Mithu could not sleep. He kept thinking about everything he had witnessed. A deep sadness filled Mithu's heart. He had wasted so many years, talking without truly connecting with anyone. He had been so proud of his knowledge, but he had never gained real wisdom. The next morning, when Rajan came to greet him, Mithu remained silent. When guests arrived to hear him talk, he simply sat quietly in his cage. He had decided to stop speaking. At first, Rajan was worried. He thought his parrot was sick. But Mithu was not ill. He had simply chosen silence because he wanted to learn what he had missed all these years. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months. Mithu stopped speaking completely, but he started truly listening for the first time. He listened to the servants talking about their families and struggles. He heard Rajan's wife crying softly when she felt lonely. He observed how the children played and solved their problems together. Through his silence, Mithu began to see the world differently. He noticed that the happiest people were not those who talked the most, but those who listened the most. He saw that Kamla's kindness came from her ability to observe and understand others without judgment. He watched how a mother didn't need words to know when her baby was hungry. He observed how true friends could sit together in silence and still feel connected. He learned that sometimes a gentle touch or a caring look meant more than 1,000 words. Months passed and Mithu discovered something amazing. In his silence, he had learned more about life, love, and wisdom than in all his years of talking. He understood now that real intelligence was not about knowing many words, but about knowing when to use them and when to stay quiet. One evening, Kamla was sitting in the garden, looking tired after a long day of work. Her shoulders were bent with exhaustion, and her eyes showed sadness. Mithu had been watching her and noticed that she seemed unwell. For the first time in months, Mithu decided to speak, but his voice was different now. Soft, gentle, and filled with genuine care. "Kamla," he said quietly, "you look very tired. Please rest. Let me call someone to help you." Kamla looked up in surprise. Tears filled her eyes. Not because the parrot had spoken again, but because his words carried real concern and kindness. Mithu called for help, and Rajan came quickly. He realized that Kamla had been working too hard and was falling sick. He immediately arranged for her to rest and get proper care. Because Mithu had spoken up at the right moment, Kamla got the help she needed. From that day forward, Mithu spoke only when his words could truly help someone. He no longer talked to show off or seek praise. He had learned that silence taught him to observe, to understand, and to care deeply about others. The entire household noticed the change. When Mithu did speak now, everyone listened carefully because they knew his words carried real meaning and wisdom. Rajan often sat with Mithu and thanked him. "You were always special," he told the parrot, "but now you are truly wise." Mithu would simply nod. He had discovered that wisdom was not about how much you could say, but about how deeply you could understand. It was not about filling the air with words, but about filling hearts with genuine care and compassion.